Silence is not emptiness. It is a weapon, a boundary, a mirror that reflects the weaknesses of those around you. Most people underestimate the power of not speaking, of withholding your thoughts, your reactions, your energy. In a world dominated by noise, the one who masters quiet becomes untouchable. Every word you refrain from saying is a seed of control, planted in the minds of others. When you remain silent in moments where others demand explanation, when your response is deliberately withheld, people begin to reveal their own anxieties, their own insecurities, and their own desires. Silence is not passive. It is an active force that forces others to bend, to adjust, to react to your presence rather than your words. When you do not speak, you force others to project their intentions onto you. Their assumptions, fears, and judgments fill the void you create. They become desperate for information, for validation, for guidance, and in that desperation, they lose composure. Silence is a mirror that reflects the true nature of those who attempt to interpret it. Their impatience, their aggression, their insecurity, all of it becomes visible. By simply withholding your voice, you expose the hidden patterns of human behavior, the strategies people use to manipulate or dominate. In effect, silence compels transparency, and transparency grants you power. Humans are uncomfortable with ambiguity. When your mind is unreadable, your intentions concealed, others cannot predict or control you. They seek patterns, explanations, and consistency, yet your silence denies them all three. In social dynamics, predictability is vulnerability. By remaining silent in key moments during arguments, negotiations, or confrontations, you create tension, fear, and uncertainty. People may try to provoke you, to force a reaction, but in doing so, they reveal their own weaknesses. The unreadable individual becomes a psychological authority simply by refusing to provide clarity. Silence transforms you from participant to observer, from subject to power. Silence is not merely the absence of words, it is a calculated tool of influence. The most skilled manipulators understand that people act in the gaps. That behavior is often dictated by what is left unsaid. When you withhold responses, when you allow your expressions to remain controlled, you guide others' actions without lifting a finger. A pause in conversation can feel like an eternity, forcing others to overcompensate, to disclose information they would otherwise hide, to make mistakes. This is the essence of strategic silence. You create a vacuum, and human nature rushes to fill it, often to your advantage. By mastering silence, you control the emotional climate around you. Every expression, every word, every reaction that you choose not to emit becomes a shield against manipulation. People often attempt to destabilize others through provocation, confrontation, or criticism. When you remain silent, you deny them the satisfaction of an emotional reaction. Anger, fear, confusion, these emotions become their own, projected outward and reflected back on them. Silence is not suppression. It is containment, a deliberate refusal to participate in the emotional chaos of others. The calmer you appear, the more disoriented they become, and the more they bend to your presence. Humans are drawn to those who control presence rather than voice. When you speak less, your words carry weight. Every syllable becomes a signal, every statement a command. People will listen more carefully, remember more clearly, and act more decisively simply because you have trained them to value your input. Silence is the foundation of psychological scarcity. Your attention, your responses, your energy become precious commodities. Others will compete, consciously or unconsciously, to earn even a fragment of your acknowledgement. By speaking less, you dominate attention more effectively than any argument or demonstration ever could. Silence allows observation. While others are busy filling the space with noise, you are cataloging, analyzing, and predicting. The most dangerous individuals are those who remain quiet while the world exposes itself. Body language, micro-expressions, verbal slips. These all reveal strategy, desire, and fear. People reveal themselves in the gaps, and silence makes those gaps visible. By mastering quiet observation, you gain insight into motivations, vulnerabilities, and intentions that words alone cannot reveal. In this way, silence is a lens that magnifies weakness and magnifies opportunity. A quiet presence can generate more psychological tension than overt confrontation. When others sense that you are unfazed, unyielding, and impervious, their minds begin to race. They attempt to predict your next move, to find a flaw, to force compliance. Every second of silence becomes a mirror reflecting their impatience. Every pause a lever pulling at their anxiety. People bend not because of threats or force, but because they cannot tolerate uncertainty in your presence. Silence weaponizes the discomfort of others, transforming passive observation into active influence. In confrontation, silence becomes absolute authority. The instinct of most people is to fill the void with arguments, justifications, or aggression. By resisting this urge, you destabilize them. Arguments collapse, plans unravel, and projections backfire when there is no audience for them. Silence transforms conflict into a controlled environment where you dictate the pace, the flow, and ultimately, the outcome. The person who cannot be drawn into a fight maintains psychological dominance simply by refusing engagement. Your stillness becomes a form of aggression more effective than any shouted insult. Mastering silence is not instantaneous. It requires discipline, awareness, and observation. You must learn to resist the urge to react, to explain, to justify. Every interaction becomes a laboratory where you practice restraint. Begin by pausing before responding, letting questions linger, allowing statements to hang in the air. Train yourself to find comfort in absence, to understand that influence does not require volume. Over time, silence becomes instinctive, and its effects compound. Those around you begin to bend not because you act overtly, but because they have internalized the authority your quiet presence demands. Silence is not passive. It is the most potent form of control, the invisible hand that bends human behavior without a sound. In mastering quiet, you master attention, perception, and influence. You become unreadable, unshakable, untouchable. Those who attempt to dominate, manipulate, or provoke will find themselves ensnared in the vacuum you create. People bend not because they understand you, but because they cannot. The absence of noise is a presence far stronger than speech. In this cold, calculated stillness, you wield power that words could never grant.